was here and not here. For moments I felt like I was observing myself from outside. For moments I thought I was those who were looking at me, jaws agape. I wiped my mouth, a taste of copper. I remembered the vampire I knew who sucked on pennies. I looked around the room, but Dracunin was nowhere to be found, nor Parker. Lynn appeared beside Chang and held his lifeless hand. He looked like a mannequin, like a special effect. None of it was real. I scanned the others, they were all still. But most were not looking at me. Most were looking at the painting. There, in the space where the Ouroboros was a blackness blacker than any paint color. It was void, and yet it was textured. It had absorbed all the paint around it. It was pain. It was absence. I looked at the antenna. It had a little plume of smoke coming from it. It had ceased working a while back, though I do not remember when. I could not remember biting Chang, draining him of his blood. It was as if Dracunin had spared me the moments most displeasing. He was somewhere back in the recesses of my consciousness, hiding, feasting, welcoming a part of himself back. Still, the voices were too distant as well for me to hear them, to know that they would ever come back. "I am sorry," I said to Lynn. She was silently grieving, in shock. Finally, an old man came up to her, held her shoulder, and with his other hand brought a quilted blanket and laid it over Chang's body. I did not know where to go. We all heard the plane depart. It shook the space like a spurned lover. My eyes went between Lynn and the painting. "What now?" I asked, to no one in particular.
If you stay, we wait for another to present themselves. There are those who gladly would, provided they can prepare themselves, but if you must leave, then you must leave. The failure is our own.
One by one, the members approached Chang's body and touched his head over the blanket as if they'd rehearsed this moment. Then they exited, leaving Lynn and me alone. I am not... Lynn could not cross my eyes. She inhaled a sob and then she quickly exited the room. Myself. I said to myself, alone. Then I heard him, in the distance almost of my consciousness.
"See you soon. Don't despair, Neto. Don't lose the plot."
I ripped off my shirt, dirty with blood. I did not know where to go, so I stayed. Finally, I approached the mural. I pressed my hand to the blackness. It was not real. It was representation of evil, absence. It was not art. It was much too pure for that. Prima materia, I said without knowing what I meant. In absurd fashion, I walked away from the place. I walked away from Chang's body, from the blackness, as if I had left the dinner table or a performance, and was simply moving on. All guilt, all responsibility, I felt it suddenly swallowed into a deep part of myself. I did not do this. Dracunin did. He happily assented. The lack of shame, the lack of guilt made things unreal. And yet I was here. I closed the door of my room, locked it, put a chair in front of it. Why? What was I afraid of? The enemy wasn't here. I turned on a shower. I washed myself clean. My fangs, they were still out. I felt different. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought I saw muscle I had not perceived before. I will live another 1,000 years. This was not the voices saying this. This was me. I stood on the porch naked and listened to the sound of the birds. I did not know how to live in this world without shame. But I must try. For the next week, no one spoke to me. My meals were left at my door. Chang was buried in the mountainside in a small ceremony. I was invited with a note under my door, but I did not go. I watched from above, near the helicopter pad. My hearing was sharper than I anticipated, or perhaps it was the way the sound carried in the hollow of the crater. I could hear her words.
"We shall not be ashamed. We shall not be ashamed, for we know God as we are God's creations. And as we know God, we rightfully know that which we were forbidden. And should God's children not crave a return to innocence? Should we not crave a return to the immortal soul? Let us not be ashamed, for we tried. Let him not be ashamed, for our brother tried.
After a few days, I found myself not missing the voices anymore. I knew Jokunin was there, lurking somehow, but it upset me less and less. I felt nothing. But strangely, that nothing felt like a relief I had craved for nearly 1,000 years. I was no longer who I was. What sense was there in grieving anymore? I simply looked at the shapes around me, no longer as an artist seeking to imitate, but more as one who seeks to know and manifest. I was finally more important than my art. Every day I visited the mural. I had no command over it, but looking at it informed me when I would go on my walks. The members of the RUS avoided the atrium. They even walked on the outer rim of the hallway, worried as if the blackness could draw them in. Other than asking me if I needed anything, Lynn withdrew herself. I had no craving to drink blood again. I simply didn't know how much time it would be before another presents themselves. Understandably, the technology had proven itself ineffective. There was only prophecy. There was only the urge. Every night I slept, every morning I woke without having any dreams. Still, I would forget the current circumstances and enjoy the breakfast brought to me. I ate on the porch and considered myself. I considered everything that had happened to me. I thought of Simon, worried a little about Harry and Leon and Balkis. I was still myself, and yet I felt that nothing would be the same. I was awoken in the morning first by timid knocks, then by one more insistent and harsher and definitively larger fisted. When I opened the door, a gun was firmly pointed at my head by a man. Two large men grabbed me from either side and dragged me to the bed, banging my head against the headboard, my fangs bared, my muscles taut and strong reflexively. This was new. Before I could speak, we all heard Lynn from afar. Lynn came running in out of breath.
Stop! Stop! It's not him! Let him go! It's not him. I saw the tape. I'll show it to you.
The man still held his gun facing me. Lynn faced the screen of the tablet towards me. Together we watched. The shape of a man, walking through the shadows of the hallways, almost invisible. Decidedly not me. Hard to make out his features. Then, we saw the man walk through matter, walk through the door. Then, out, quickly, out, and he was no longer visible in whatever cameras Lynn had. Lynn took the tablet back. She zoomed on a one still frame, one where the man looked up for a moment at the camera, as if he wanted to be seen. Chang. The man lowered the gun, nodded to the two goons who released me. We went together outside to Chang's burial ground. We found it untouched. Shovels were procured. Chang's modest casket was opened. Lynn gasped as his body was absent.
We're not safe here. We must convene immediately.
I would say so, before nightfall. Lynn and a few others brought me to the victim's room. They were young, perhaps in their 30s. I was told they had only recently ascended to being a member. They had voted for Parker, Lynn pointed out. Why?
Because I told him to. He was my nephew.
I looked at the young man's face, ashen. I could not help tracing the wound on their neck. Precise. They had done it in their sleep, no doubt. I wanted to reassure Lynn that it had been painless, but it hardly mattered in this moment. We gathered everyone in the atrium. They all stood far from the mural, still in deferent fear of its power, however dormant.
I think I speak for all of us to say this goes beyond our scope of knowledge. Before any speak, I would like for our guest, Mr. Nedovicius, if you have anything at all to say, to advise. I believe he has the right.
I looked at their worried faces. Their fear of me had doubled since I had taken Chang's life. And now since they saw me as responsible for his delayed transformation, I needed to lead. They needed certainty. This is the technology's doing. You are manipulating the natural order of things. This is your fault. It is my fault that I let you do it. Simon had the urge. That is without a doubt, the vampire knows. Your thirst for immortality is selfish. Not that you are wrong for it, but it is motivated by self, not by that which is larger than the self, that which is connected to the larger, I felt my fangs grow as I hesitated to say the word. To the larger. You interfered, and so we have a response. A vengeance. I do not know if he is done, but he is cursed, beyond myself or any vampire I have known. He is what is known in ancient times as Moroi. He is death-defined. He is nightmare. He evades your human understanding. It is no use for you to flee. He will find you. He lives on your fear. Those who do not know of his existence are safe. Only you are susceptible to let him in. You will do so. You will do so without knowing it. The crowd was nervous, now to soothe them. But the old ways are applicable here. You welcome him when you welcome your own selfishness. I say this to you now. Abandon your foolish quest for immortality. His fang, if it could, will only turn you into one of him. And I see no chance of your being one of us. Was Dracunin listening? The voices were here. They waited at the door of my unconscious. I felt relieved.
So, we abandon this place? We go in different directions?
Yes. I will travel with you. Forgive me. I never meant for this to happen. I stayed apart as they held the ceremony for Lynn's nephew. Then they gathered dry branches, a small mound, further from where they had buried Chang, and since I gave no objection as it being a good or bad idea, they immolated him. I stood apart and could see Lynn had given over to silence in her grief. A man spoke a few words, but I could not make out what they were in the smoke. We rode in the back of an SUV down the mountain. Lynn stared out the window, much as I had with Chang up the mountain. An old man in a blanket with small heart meter or something sat between us, sleeping. Two of the larger men who had held me down were in front driving. It is like the lion to them.
What?
Nothing. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. We hadn't become close. Not enough. Perhaps only a little in recent times. Still, he was family. The last family I've got.
I nodded and looked myself out the window. Out in the horizon, I could see the ocean past some hills. There were storm clouds. Then we took a sharp, circuitous turn, and our view was back towards whence we came. A thin plume of smoke was still rising like a soul to the heavens.
So, what? Is Chang pure evil? Is that it?
This time I hesitated to lie. I did not know. I did not know the nature of Chang. I did not know what had happened. The Moroi was just a name for a vampire. Perhaps I knew that Baba was something different than what I was. Perhaps Dracula too. But talking to him made me doubt everything I knew. Had I not known human beings much more barbarous, much more monstrous than any vampire I'd ever known? Dracula was right about that. I don't think anything is pure. She appeared to be satisfied by that answer. We did not speak until we arrived at what looked like a hospital. Someone came and helped the old man from out the car. Before getting out, he turned to me and said,
I'd do it all again, young man. All the same, exactly. Not by the slightest tick.
I wondered if the old man knew who I was, actually. I did not remember him being in the atrium. I knew there were infirm people in rooms that I had not seen. It was a mystery to me why Lynn did not behave like one who I had betrayed. I had promised her that I would not hurt Chang. I could not find the words to explain to her what had happened. There was something to these cult members where they too easily accepted any hurt, as if they were responsible for all pain, all unfortunate circumstance. In a sense, I did not want to involve her any further. We parted at the airport. I found myself wanting to give her something, and so I lifted the book of Harry's story out the bag, hesitated but for a moment before giving her my pink bunny bag. She looked confused, but understood in a way and thanked me. It didn't matter what it was, and she didn't need Harry's stories. She needed, like they all did, to let go of these stories, to stop turning their pages, to find their own story. And as much as the child who had given the pink bunny bag, I was giving her permission. Start over. It's never too late to start over. As my plane took off, I had a sudden feeling of regret about the mural. Not that I could have known what had happened to it, but I wondered if I should not have insisted that we burn it too. But no, it was enough. Who knows what would have happened then? Something told me that the RUS would hesitate to return to that place for a long time. The concrete hallways would stay immaculate, echoing the sounds of the digital birds in the little outer patios. Chang, my instinct told me he was sleeping. I thought of the little vampires in the caves and was suddenly comforted that one of mine had fed. Why? What was I doing? I think I needed to reconcile the evil that had resurfaced, so I was integrating it into myself, I suppose. Or it was Dracunin. He would know where I was. He would probably know exactly what flight. But I suppose once I was back in New York, there would be a chance he could leave me. How was it that I did not feel any sense of betrayal? That I somehow welcomed his presence? As the air steward handed me a coffee in a paper cup, her hand grazing my own, then accidentally spilling my coffee, then wiping my hand with a napkin, then placing her hand on my shoulder in apology, I thanked her and looked her in the eye and recognized her infinity. And when she had parted, I gave myself permission to cry. The heat of the coffee nearly scalding my tongue and the salt of my tears rinsing the remnant taste of blood, until I realized I could both regret and not regret something. And what a fool I had been in thinking I did not belong in this world.